Well, in my opinion, I do not think that the Tennessee Titans did a particularly great job with their game plan in trying and stopping Patrick Mahomes. I think it's fair to say that it's nearly impossible to stop Patrick Mahomes. It's like trying to stop a freight train, just not easy to do. But at the same time, their attempt at stopping a train was by just like throwing a lawn chair on it and hoping for the best. It didn't work out too well. They could have done a lot better, in my opinion. And let's just get into what they did wrong, and we'll start things off with this play. So this is going to be one of my biggest problems with what Tennessee did the entire game. It's going to be shown on this play where it's going to be a 4th down and 2. So this is a key situation. If they can get a stop here, they're still up 10. They could try to march down the field. You march down the field and put 7 up. Now you're up 17 points in the first. Granted, it's still Kansas City, but that's a huge swing if you can get a stop here. And for Tennessee, what they're going to do is they're going to have a cover 2 zone type play, but they're going to modify it a little bit. And one of the key ways they're doing that is by having actually 8 guys in coverage as opposed to a typical 7, which means that only 3 players will be rushing the passer. And while you could say this is maybe just trying to get the element of surprise a little bit, if you look at them, they actually only have 3 defensive linemen even on the field right now. So, the element of surprise is kind of lost a little bit when you do that. It's something that Tennessee does a pretty good amount, but, this kind of gives Kansas City an idea of, okay, be wary of a potential 3-man rush on this play. For Mahomes, he has Travis Kelce running that route right there. It's something he likes and something he is going to look to throw the ball to. But also, if you look after the ball is snapped, a Kansas City player runs further past Travis Kelce, which now means that if you look right here, there is a huge window for Mahomes to make this throw to Kelce. This is just a disaster by Tennessee for several reasons, actually. One, it's zone coverage, and Kansas City has a zone buster, so that part is just kind of, okay, they ran a good concept against your type of play that you called. But if the linebacker is smart right now, he would run down to the bottom half of the screen, make sure that he's covering up Kelce, and try to knock the ball away. However, instead, he's way slow in getting over there, which allows Kelce to make that play, and it's just not smart football. Again, you could blame the linebacker if you want, but I don't. A linebacker's job is to do what the coaches tell him to do. If you're a coach, you have to say, hey, play aggressive. You have to play aggressive against this type of team, and he did not on that play. He was very cautious. And there's no reason to be cautious on a 4th down. Try to make a play. It just wasn't a great play by Tennessee, and that's honestly my biggest problem with what Tennessee did is something like that, where I just felt like they didn't do a very smart job of just playing smart football. I felt like they just had a very specific idea of what they were going to do coming into this game, but that idea of what they were going to do makes little to no sense to me. I do think that their mindset was Kansas City has a great offensive line. Let's try to mix things up. Let's try to fool them, sort of like a boxer. You don't do the same 2 things on every play. But the problem is they didn't really mix things up in terms of the course of the game. They kind of just did something a little bit different than what Kansas City is used to, but they were very quickly able to adjust. Like, this play was another bad example of coaching, in my opinion. It's going to be a cover 4 zone right now, so that part makes some sense. Yes, it is a 3rd down and 3, so maybe you don't want to do the cover 4. Actually, doesn't make a ton of sense now that I say that, because you do want to try to stop them here, but at the end of the day, their mindset, and I do understand the mindset, is let's not give up a touchdown. Not what I would have done. I think I probably play cover 2 here or something like that, but, they're going cover 4. Okay, fine. That's what they were going to do. But they're actually going to once again mix things up, and they're going to have that linebacker who's currently on the line in a 2-point stance not be rushing the passer, which again, this is very predictable here. When you're running a lot of 3-man rushes and you have somebody who's in a 2-point stance who's a linebacker on the line, this makes things very easy for Kansas City to say, okay, there's a good chance he's dropping back into coverage. If you just had a defensive tackle drop back into coverage there, you could actually fool them to some degree, but that's not what they're doing. So already a little bit of a not great thing right there. And not just that, but watch what Rashaan Evans is going to do. So first off, he starts as though he's, rushing the passer, trying to basically get the left guard to run towards him, to just take him out of the way, and then he'll drop back into coverage. That's what he's hoping he's going to do, but he just tries way too hard to sell this, and at a certain point, you have to get back into coverage. Watch how he still tries to run forward, then gets back, but at that point, he just can't reach up and knock the ball away, and Mahomes is able to get the completion right there. So already kind of a bad play, but also worth mentioning that you have Evans, who's one of your best players, really good, talented player, and you're putting him in a situation that he's not really used to. That's not really where he thrives. So it's almost like you're taking someone out of the play on this one. You're now playing 10 on 11 football, and you're not just taking anybody out of the play. You're taking one of your best players out of the play. It makes absolutely no sense to me. I get that you're trying to get a little bit creative here, but you don't have to get creative. You're a good enough team. You had a chance if you just played straight up, get creative to some degree, but you don't have to go completely overboard. And it seems like they kind of outthought themselves in a lot of ways. They played way too cautious at times as well, which, like running a quarters coverage in that situation, a little bit too cautious for my taste, to be honest. And I think it really came back to bite them. And while those were kind of like pretty clearly coaching things, there was actually a couple plays too that were kind of coaching things. It was sort of players not doing what they really should do, which to me falls on coaching. Although you can also blame the players. And what I mean by that is a play like this where it's going to be a cover three zone, and for Kansas City, they have a pretty good concept that can beat cover three. They'll have their number two receiver run that route right there, and then their number one receiver run a similar route, but just further deep and further towards the sideline. And so, in theory, the defensive back who's in charge of covering the flat on the bottom half of the screen will make sure he covers up the player who is cutting earlier, so that way there'll be a bigger window for Mahomes to throw it over him. That's the way this play is supposed to work on paper. And it's going to work out pretty well. Logan Ryan does something just crazy right here. He's going to run up and just push Sammy Watkins. So, first things first, this is illegal contact. This is the penalty. He should have gotten penalized for it. They were lucky that he didn't. Although it actually wouldn't have mattered because now the receiver who's going to be, trying to get open further deep is now even more open because Logan Ryan feels the need to run over and just knock over Sammy Watkins for really no reason. That's just too easy of a throw for Mahomes to make, and it's just a mistake by Ryan right there. And Ryan's a good player, Ryan's not a stupid guy by any means, but that has to fall on coaching to some degree. You have to know that these types of plays are going to be coming, and you have to have your players be ready for these types of plays. And Ryan was not ready. He ran over, ended up, it might have been accidental, and he just tried to create some contact, and Watkins went down a little easy. That's possible, but either way, I mean, you have to be smarter than that. You really do. Again, it's hard to just blame coaching for that one play because obviously Ryan was actually the guy who screwed up, but at the end of the day, a good coach knows how to make their players not make dumb decisions, and that was a dumb decision, and it resulted in a first down. And speaking of dumb decisions resulting in first downs, let's look at this one. Although it's not really a decision, it seemed more likely that actually two guys just weren't on the same page. There might have been a cross-up on this play, because watch what's going to happen. Tennessee is going to have a twist, also known as a stunt, where what they're going to do is they're going to have their edge rusher run kind of to the inside of the tackle, and then the idea is that then a defensive tackle can run around to the outside. Potentially he can get free and get some pressure on Mahomes. And this makes sense. I mean, you got to start doing things like this. You have to mix things up because the offensive line is it's giving Mahomes all day to make a throw. Part of that is because of the three-man rushes, but even with four-man rushes, Tennessee is really struggling to create some pressure. So they're going to do a twist. Makes some sense. I like this. However, it seems like nobody told Austin Johnson, the defensive tackle who's supposed to run around the edge, because watch how he just runs straight into the guard and center and ends up sort of getting ran into by his own guy right there. It seemed like he was definitely not ready for that, and then when he does run over, he kind of runs straight into the tackle, which is the complete opposite of what you're trying to do. And it seems pretty clear to me that Johnson was not prepared for a twist, but the edge rusher was obviously going for a twist. So somebody just got the wrong play call. Somebody didn't know what they were doing. I don't know who it was, but somebody screwed up there. At least that's what it looks like. I could be wrong, but I don't believe I am. But even after this, watch. I mean, Johnson runs to the inside, which completely gives up containment, by the way, because no one's running around the edge, and Mahomes is easily able to run for the first down. I mean, that's just not, again, it's not smart football. I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know if just a player completely screwed up, and there was nothing a coach could do, even if Bill Belichick did it. There was no way that that was going to work out. That's possible. It's possible the personnel just screwed up. But either way, Tennessee Titans kind of outsmarted themselves in a lot of ways, and they had a real chance to win this game. I really do think that's true. I don't think that they just were completely outmatched whatsoever. I think the Chiefs were definitely the better team, but, I mean, sometimes the team that isn't as good still finds a way to win. I think Tennessee had a real shot here, and unfortunately, I think they blew it. And part of it was coaching, in my opinion. Part of that was Dean Pease, who, by the way, just retired. So, again, I know I just spent an entire video criticizing him, but he actually had a tremendous career. This wasn't his best game, but, give him some credit for what he was able to accomplish throughout the course of his career, absolutely. That being said, I mean, this wasn't his best game. It certainly wasn't. You could blame Vrabel to some degree as well, but a lot of what Vrabel does, it appears, is that he kind of just lets his coordinators and his guys be the ones who are making a lot of decisions, and he's kind of just he doesn't focus on the micro things. He focuses on the big picture things. He focuses on the game management side, and I think that's smart. I think that that's actually how you should handle being a head coach. But, at the same time, he had to at least okay the constant three-man rushes and things like that. So, yeah, he deserves some blame. Absolutely. I think on one hand, Tennessee should be very proud of what they accomplished. I mean, they were able to go into Baltimore and pick up a win. That's definitely not easy to do whatsoever. But at the same time, I mean, there is a small part of me that's thinking this kind of reminds me of the Jacksonville Jaguars from 2 years ago. Jacksonville, they won 2 games to get to the AFC Championship game. They were very close to winning the AFC Championship game, fell short to the Patriots. And after that, we kind of all thought, okay, well, they'll be back year after year after year. This is a young team. They're just getting started, and now they're a complete mess. They're pretty much a completely different team at this point. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen to the Tennessee Titans, and in 2 years they will be a mess. I think that they do look like they can be very good in the future, but I'm just saying with that comment of be careful. These games don't happen very often. You only have so many opportunities to win them, and I think Tennessee screwed up this opportunity, and who knows if they'll get another. I mean, that's just my harsh reality of how I feel about that game. I know typically I try to be positive, but I'm always going to be honest, and that's kind of how I feel about that game. I think Tennessee blew an opportunity, and those opportunities do not come easy. So yeah, I mean, again, that's just my opinion. Feel free to leave your comments in the comment section below. Tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me why Tennessee will be back in the AFC Championship game next year. And I'm not saying they won't. I mean, keep in mind, I said Tennessee was a good team preseason. I thought they were going to win the division. So I was even higher on them than what they actually did in the regular season. But that being said, I do think that they had a real opportunity and they blew it. It's just my opinion. But, that's what I do here. I give my opinion. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.